Opposition parties are now making their case against the Liberals without Prime Minister Justin Trudeau potentially at the helm.
Their only objection is that he is no longer popular enough to win an election and keep them in power. They want to protect their pensions and paycheck by sweeping their hated leader under the rug months before an election to trick you and then do it all over again.
As Pierre Poilievre released that yesterday, the NDP, we know, is joining the Conservatives and the Bloc in committing to bring down the Liberal government at their next opportunity, which then, of course, would trigger an election. For more this morning, we are joined by former Deputy Conservative Leader and Vice Chair of Global Investment Banking at CIBC Capital Markets, Lisa Raitt. Great to have you back on the show.
Good to see you, Anne-Marie. Thanks.
We're going to go back in time a little bit. You ran for Conservative leader in 2017 in the race to replace Prime Minister Stephen Harper. As candidates in Ottawa this morning are considering don't I run for leadership, what goes into preparing to run a national leadership race?
So much. And actually, after that leadership race, in which I was not successful, I went on to co-chair the next leadership race. And I was on the other side of the organizing of it. And I can tell you that leadership campaigns are very diligent. They want to make sure that their candidate gets the best possible chance at winning the leadership. So they're going to be very combative with one another. They're going to have a million questions for the leadership. They want to know what the rules are, and they watch each other's campaign to make sure that they're not breaking any of the rules. So it's a very complex situation. And if you're a candidate wondering if you want to put your hat in the ring and become the next leader, you really have to be assured that you are in it, and you are definitely going to have to go through an awful lot of time, an awful lot of compassion for yourself and for your family, but it's quite the involved experience. And you don't do this if you're just even a little bit hesitant. You're either in or you're all in. There's no maybes.
And of course, we've been talking about this shortened timeline all morning long. Listen, Kim Campbell became Prime Minister after Brian Mulroney resigned in June 1993. And then 4 months later, Campbell led the Conservatives into the next election, and the party then just won 2 seats. What does the next Liberal leader need to do to avoid that scenario from repeating itself?
Well, I think the next Liberal leader has to understand and be aware of the fact that it's not just Justin Trudeau that was the problem for the Canadian public, that it was the policies that were implemented by the Liberal Party. So either they're going to be able to communicate why these policies were the right policies, or they're going to be able to distance themselves from the previous government and say that I'm going to do things different going forward. Really difficult for a current sitting member of Parliament to be able to do that, quite frankly, because they have been part and parcel of the entire operation since 2015. And as a result, they will be easily linked to the Justin Trudeau policies that have made Canadians in the situation where they are now, which is wanting to have an election.
How could an outsider like Mark Carney, for example, change that scenario?
He's got to be an excellent communicator, quite frankly. He's got to be able to communicate through the noise around this government, through the dissatisfaction of the government. He's got to set out a hope that there's a way forward, and he's got to be able to touch the hearts and the minds of Canadians across the country who are not feeling very happy at the moment. It is a very, very steep hill for anyone outside the party to climb, let alone somebody from inside the party. So whoever the next leader is, they definitely have their work cut out for them. And I don't think they're going to have the ability to change the outcome, which we seem to be heading towards.
Much of Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre's criticism of this government has centered on Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his leadership. How could the Conservatives' election strategy be affected by somebody running against somebody other than Justin Trudeau?
Well, you may have seen in the last couple of months, because this has been telegraphed ever since this summer when Mr. Trudeau started losing those by-elections in incredibly safe Liberal seats, the Conservatives have pivoted more into talking about affordability, whether or not you're better off now than you were in 2015, about the concerns that certain parts of our society have in terms of not being able to buy a house, not being able to get ahead. They've done everything that they thought they were supposed to do, and it hasn't panned out for them. The Conservatives will now pin that on the Liberal Party writ large. It's not going to be just about Justin Trudeau. And as you heard from the clip, that's exactly the path they're taking. It's saying that you may have gotten rid of Mr. Trudeau, or they may have gotten rid of Mr. Trudeau, but the reality is that they're all the same. So that's going to be the message the Conservatives will put out. Same message that the NDP and the Bloc Québécois will push as well.
Lisa Raitt, a former Deputy Conservative Leader and Vice Chair of Global Investment Banking at CIBC Capital Markets. Always great to speak with you. Thanks for coming back on today.
Thanks, Anne-Marie.
If you liked that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.